Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's the 22nd day of July, right past the midway point of summer, 2023. A lot of stuff going on, but of course, and we finally got some nice weather in the Northeast. I mean, I'm not complaining compared to Phoenix, Arizona, and these other places in California. I mean, it's just been ridiculously hot, but it's been raining off and on here for it seems like 2 weeks, so we got a good day here in New Jersey. Um, so let's jump right into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I got my producer Eli is going to join us in a little bit. So of course we always open the show with thanks and just deep appreciation to everybody that been reaching out and supporting Steve and doing better every day. And like again, it's just been heartwarming to see all the support that he's gotten. And, you know, I let him know and I know he understands it. So um, thank you and thank you and thank you. Anyway, so let's jump in with the monologue, which of course is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York, who's been with us since day one and can't thank them enough. So let's just jump into the monologue. And I guess the topic was wrestling with this whole running back situation in the NFL. And this is front page news kind of thing because you had three guys, right? You had Pollard, you had Jacobs, and you had Barkley, right? Options were to sign the franchise tag, make the average, which is $10 million. And I get it. Compared to some of these bums in the NBA and Major League Baseball that are making ridiculous amounts of money. Yeah. Compared to the quarterbacks and wide receivers and defensive tackles that they're paying, right? Because is the game changing? I don't know. But when you got a quarterback, that's making 40, $50 million when it's all said and done, when Burrow signs his new contract, you have to look at it, the running back situation. And again, yes, maybe it's not the most important position like it used to be in the days of Walter Payton and Jim Brown and Earl Campbell and Emmett Smith and those guys. But the thing that irks me, I guess, with the Saquon Barkley thing is, you know, they collectively bargained with the NFL and this franchise tag. So, that's your option. So you're getting it. So I started to look up to see who's making what, and the top running backs. McCaffrey's making 16 million. You got guys like Chubb and Derrick Henry. They're making 12 million, which sounds paltry compared to what they're paying some of these other guys. But again, I think Tony Pollard made the best decision. He signed his franchise tag, so he's going to make $10 million a year. And Barkley and Jacobs are saying we're not going to play at all. Okay, well that's 10 million you're going to lose. Is there a possibility that the NFL owners and Goodell got together and said, I'll use the term collusion to keep these salaries down? Well, I don't think so because you have to figure out based on this salary cap, these teams only have X amount of money to spend. And of course, that'll go up. So, of course, the salaries will go up. But I just, for Barkley and Jacobs to say they'll sit out the season, it just brings flashbacks to Le'Veon Bell. And, even he's finally come out and said, I made the biggest mistake of my life leaving Pittsburgh. So I hope that doesn't happen to Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs because they're still valuable players. And Barkley out of the backfield is always a threat. And I think he works well with Daniel Jones. So I don't know. Now they can't, it's either take the franchise tag or he's not playing, but they can't negotiate a long-term deal. But I still go back to this point where Saquon Barkley was offered a contract not too long ago. And it was probably, I think it was around, they were saying 13 million, which would be more than what Chubb and Derrick Henry and those guys are like, what they're making. So anyway, it's kind of an ugly look. You hate to have this, on the cusp of the season coming up, but I hope he comes back to his senses and says, yes, I'll sign the franchise tag. I'll play for 10 million. And if he proves his worth, then maybe he gets more the following year. So listen, that's my perspective on it. I would love to hear everybody else's perspective. So send us an email at sportswithmano@gmail.com. And there's my partner, Eli, right now. So I think he's got a comment or two on this situation. Go ahead.
All I can say is we've been having a lot of discussions all week long, and not only our show, but on my show, the 12th Horseshoe podcast as well. What I could say is about this running back situation, it's a big controversial argument around the National Football League. And I'm sure it is in the point where it's at the offices on how they can change it. And I won't be surprised there will be rule changes to next year on how it all affects with these players. One big thing is Saquon Barkley. It depends on the mood. We know a lot. The players' moods change every day, and they always have like a different perspective every single day and every.
Well, let's first and foremost say it's the agent who makes their perspective change.
Correct. Right. Okay. And what I could say is it's a little disappointing. I think they should just play. If you don't sign the franchise tag, then maybe there's something else that we don't know about that really is like a big problem, but we don't want to say it out loud. And I think absolutely they should sign the franchise tag. Okay. Saquon Barkley will definitely need to sign it for the Giants because the Giants, they need him. And why they couldn't make an agreement with him is beyond me. But he is one of the player that will definitely help that Giants team out. And I'm just going to use him as an example.
Okay. You got it. No doubt. All right. Yeah. So let's move on. Let's cover a couple of things that weeks past, right?
Yeah.
The Wimbledon final, an epic battle, right? The reigning top of the world tennis player versus this young guy who I've been parading around for not only just this past Wimbledon, but for almost 2 years now. I said he's definitely going to be the next Federer type player, Nadal, Joker kind of player. And it was an epic 5-battle match. You watched the first set, and Novak just robotically dismembered him 6-1 in the first set. And you go, oh, here we go, right? This is going to be it. And then third or fourth longest men's final ever. So it was great, but let's not get ahead of ourselves by saying that this is the end of the road for Joker, right? Because this guy is robotic. So injuries, yes, he's 36. He's what, 16 years older than Carlos Alcaraz. But don't rule this guy out. I don't think he's done with majors yet. And he's probably going to play in the U.S. Open this time, which would be an interesting matchup. So that was just a great final. And like I said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Like the changing of the guard just happened last Sunday because there's going to be more epic battles between those two tennis players before it's all said and done.
Oh, absolutely. He will for Novak Djokovic. He will definitely be in there for a while, and it's going to be a point where it's going to be like a Tom Brady situation. Will he retire? Will he not retire? We're going to have that situation. I know that for sure that it's going to happen. But that's later on. We're not in the mood to discuss that for right now. It was a phenomenal match. Good for Carlos that he won, and I can't wait for the U.S. Open to see what these players have in store.
Yep. 20 years old and's got 2 Grand Slams already. I mean, this kid is on his way. He's as physically fit as you could possibly ask a tennis player to look. Yeah. 4 hours and 47 minutes in a men's final against the top-rated player in the world is just amazing. It was great. And like I said, last stop, U.S. Open coming up on right Labor Day weekend kind of thing. And then final will be a week after that. Great match. Great match.
Yes. And to not forget about
go ahead.
To not forget about the women's championship that also happened in Wimbledon. Marketa Vondraskova. There you go. I just Google translated just a little bit. But it was she also won the women's match. Another great match there. And women's sports are continue to dominate as always. And congratulations to
Well,
her. And
yeah,
you
well,
know,
look, who won? Iga Swiatek won,
yeah,
right? I mean, she is literally the number one
yeah,
women's tennis player in the world, and she's tough to beat.
yeah,
But there's some young guns on the women's side as well, so
yeah,
that's always going to be interesting, right?
absolutely, no doubt about it.
Anyways, so one other thing before we move on to the baseball diamond and the football field, the British Open's going on right now, and
Yeah,
it's just the oldest and most prestigious, obviously the Masters in the US, but globally the Open Championship. And what a difference between the courses, right? Links golf versus playing at Augusta. There's no trees on the golf course in Royal Liverpool, and
yeah,
we've had some surprises, right? Here's a couple of surprises going on right now. Justin Thomas did not make the cut, right? Which
yep,
puts his Ryder Cup position a little bit more tenuous. Even though Zach Johnson will make him a captain's pick 100%, we don't think we have to worry about that.
yeah,
And but Brian Harman is just on fire. He's yet to tee off today, but he's leading at 10 under, the only one in double digits. And but keep an eye out. We didn't talk about my picks last week, but I had Rory there. I had Cam Smith in there, who's the defending Open champion. Even though he's Live Golf, I thought he was going to be there. I had Morikawa. I don't know where he is right now. It doesn't seem like he's in the mix. Scotty Scheffler has kind of been teetering around 1 under, 2 under, but that's a big hole to catch up to Brian Harman. And Brian Harman, lefty golfer, maybe that suits well for the golf course at Royal Liverpool. But stay tuned for that. And the great thing about the Open is that we get to watch it tomorrow morning at 8:00. And,
yeah. It's absolutely
Sunday morning golf, and it's a major championship, and it's been awesome. And what a beautiful course Royal Liverpool is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with Rory, Cam Smith, and Jon Rahm, who's starting to lurk. He's up to 3 under as we speak right now. And listen, this guy is amazing, and he wants majors, and he wants them bad. So don't rule him out. There's a long way to go in the tournament, and the weather looks been pretty good. It's been dry, but of course that's a windy golf course, and you hit the ball into that high fescue, anything can happen. And those bunkers are like no other bunkers in the world. So keep an eye on the British Open because it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Good picks.
Right?
Yep.
So let's move on. A couple of things. Eli, let's talk about Major League Baseball right now. From a New York perspective, the Yankees, the Mets. Yeah,
they're not doing good. It's not the discussion right now. And up for debate.
And they seem like they're reeling, even though the Yankees won last night 5-4. Met game was suspended. I think they're restarting that this afternoon. And when you look at the standings, I mean, the Yankees are in last place. And but look what's happened. We talked about this coming off the All-Star break, right? Guys to watch, right?
Yep.
Araz, right, who's starting to fall into that, after the All-Star break, couldn't keep up that 400 pace, down to 370. So we don't have a 400 thing to worry about. So Ted Williams' record is still intact, right? But Shohei Ohtani, and again, the topic is, whether the Angels will or will not deal him. The Angels are 1 game over 500, which is rare. But they're not going to obviously win the World Series, so you have to keep an eye on that. Even though I don't think it would be wise for them to move him, but any team, the Yankees, Mets, anybody who's got the money to pay him, he still has to make that decision. It's a buy it for the end of the year playoff run. If you were to make a deal, you got to give up a lot of prospects and stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that. But the Yankees, they're just not hitting. They're just not hitting. Yeah. And the Mets their defenses look terrible. And I will say this, though. A lot of people have been talking about, whether they're going to deal Verlander or Scherzer. Both of these guys are pitching just fine, and with
Yeah.
Senga, the Mets pitching is okay, but they're so far behind right now. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have this conversation in 2 weeks as to whether or not the Mets season is over, right? Excuse me. So we'll keep an eye on that, and so a couple other things you see, right? Changing of the guard. I saw this. Bryce Harper played first base last night, so he's been battling a lot of injuries, and I've told you, I've been watching Bryce Harper since he was in high school. He was like the next phenom, and I mean, he's got an MVP and so forth, but he didn't turn out to be that, can't miss guy that lived up to all those expectations. Great player, but as you get longer in your career, right, you can't exert yourself to the level that it takes to roam right field in Major League Baseball. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I don't know if this is temporary thing or ultimately he's going to be the first baseman for the Phillies. But he's under contract for 12 years or something, so he's not going anywhere. Just see if he can stay healthy. So what are your thoughts? So what's going on? Give me some Eli perspective on
not bad. I think it's gonna be a rough battle. I know Cincinnati, they've been pulling strong. I know last night they had a big home run, I believe, at the end that really
Grand Slam.
Yeah, that really shook up everybody. I think Cincinnati is one of those teams that are gonna be definitely a team to watch from our tri-state perspective. Definitely isn't pretty up there. That I would say is pretty good. In the chat right now, Jeremy says Houston's looking pretty good right now. So thanks for giving the chat out, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And
Well, here's a couple of surprises, right? Let's look at this, right? The way the Rays started out, right? It just they looked like they were going to win 120 games, right? And now they come back to earth, and now Baltimore leapfrogs them into first place. That's one of the surprise teams that we talked about, right? We talked about Baltimore. We talked about the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And
teams you didn't expect, but they're good teams and great ballparks, that's for sure.
Yeah. So here's the thing with the Reds, though, right? Yeah. I mean, the guy was a phenom starting off the season. Ellie De La Cruz, he's kind of cooled off a little bit. So, but things level themselves out in Major League Baseball over 162 games, right? The talk of the town was the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now they've come back to earth and they're in last place, right? Both central divisions in both the National and American League are absolutely abysmal. But that's the Baltimore Orioles. They got a lot of good talent.
Absolutely. I got faith in them too. That's another good team to watch out for. And I ain't focusing anymore on our tri-state New York teams because it's over at this point.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. There is going to be trading deadline coming up. I mean, both the Yankees and the Mets will make some sort of, let's
big
call
change.
them desperation moves, right? To shake things up a little bit. And, I think that's all they can hang their hat on. Because right now with the lineup and the way the players are performing, I think it's going to be tough for either one of those teams to.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I think the Yankees will hang on enough to make the wild card, but I think that's getting a little bit out of distance for the Mets. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. But trading Scherzer and Verlander is not the answers. I mean, they're both
absolutely
pitching
not.
Okay,
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, we're what, under 80 games to go. This is called the stretch run, and we got another comment
from Jeremy. I find it absurd to pay starters who barely throw 5 innings this kind of cash.
Good point. I know, but it's all about the Benjamins, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, some of these guys are making more than Saquon Barkley's ever going to make, right? And you're right, but hey, $40 million for a pitcher, that's like paying a quarterback in the NFL, $40 million.
Yeah.
That's a great job to have, by the way.
Yeah. And the bullpen is everything now, and Orioles' pen is awesome. Absolutely.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on Major League Baseball. So let's jump right into the NFL, right? And we obviously touched on it on the monologue and stuff, and no need to even talk about the Jets and Hard Knocks.
No, we don't need it. That's that Giants Jets. We can care less about them. I think every other team is the topic right now. And one thing I guess I could start with, unless you want to start. You want to start? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I think I want to start with the Commanders, and they finally finalized the deal with the ownership. It is now officially confirmed. Dan Schneider is out, and Josh Harris is in. And he made this deal for $6.5 billion. And I made the joke on the podcast the other day that he won the Powerball, and that's the reason why he got this deal done. But no. And yeah,
listen. Yeah. And the NFL find that sleazeball $60 million on the way out the door. So
yeah, that's pretty incredible.
He was absolutely. And when you talk about what an owner did to a once prestigious franchise that was owned by Jack Kent Cooke, and I remember the old Sonny Jurgensen, Billy Kilmer, Redskins days when George Allen was the coach, and what they've become now is definitely a reflection on the ownership and that toxic work environment that guy had. And it's great that he's finally out of this league, that we don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's could be good news for the Commanders, right?
And to bring some fun facts in there, Josh Harris is also the owner of the Devils and the 76ers for both hockey and basketball. And Magic Johnson, who's now part of, I guess, the Commanders organization, he said he wants a name change. So the question is now, what would you name the Washington blank? What would you name them? If it's not Commanders,
I don't
what would you
know.
put in the blank?
I don't think they're going to change.
He said by next year the name is going to change.
Say the I don't know. Elites. I don't think it's going to change.
I haven't.
No,
just because the way
it's got to be something related to Washington D.C. You know, so
Let us know in the comments
the Capitals will retake.
Let us know in the comments if what you think the name should be. Washington blank. If they do change the Washington Commanders name, what do you think is a possible name change for them?
And I didn't.
Mike says
I didn't
really
know. That's funny. Good one.
That's good.
Good one.
That's good. Bring it back. That's good. All right. So I have no idea. I say Washington Elites, but who knows? That's just a name I made up, but a lot happened there. That was all happening in Minneapolis.
All right. That's good. So a couple other things. I mean, I think the Giants are starting to think about, right? They signed Cole Beasley this week, and they signed James Robinson, right? Fully expecting that Barkley's either going to miss the first game or maybe miss the whole season. So listen, Brian Daboll is smart enough to figure out how to get around this if Barkley doesn't show up. So I like the move. I don't know how much in the tank that Cole Beasley still has. He's been around for a while, but he's always been reliable. He's got a connection with Daboll in Buffalo. So that's actually, Joe Shane is trying to be proactive and think about, the what ifs here. So
absolutely.
That's good stuff. You got a picture you wanted to show me.
Yes. Because as we announced on the 12th Horseshoe podcast, the podcast I do, some NFL teams are either going to have an alternate jersey or a throwback jersey. For the Seattle Seahawks is one of the teams, and here's the image of their throwback jersey, bringing it back to the original Seattle Seahawks logo. And other teams that are going to be taking part of either a new uniform change or alternate logo or a throwback will be the Cardinals, Vikings, Colts, the Browns, and the Buccaneers, and of course the Seahawks. We had all the photos on our last show, the 12th Horseshoe podcast, which is on Surge TV YouTube. If you want to take a look at it, or you can Google the rest of the throwback jerseys. That's the Seattle Seahawks throwback jersey. Want to throw that?
Well, you know what this is all. I mean, it's just marketing. It's just
correct.
People will flock and this is part of the NFL genius. Their marketing makes as much money as they get for the 16 games on Sundays. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And one big thing, the Colts. It was like the newest jersey that was just released just a few days ago. A lot of people that I've seen on Twitter and also on our debate on the show, we liked the helmet because the helmet had a nice blue stripe and it was a black helmet. It was something different, but the jersey to me looks the same. Some people like the jersey. That's just what I think,
Well,
but that's just the
well,
newest jersey.
again,
But
I
it's all
think the
about
most
marketing.
yeah, and I think the most notable of those changes, throwback jersey, is the Cleveland Browns going to wear a white helmet, and
Oh
I
yeah,
don't remember.
seeing a
I've
white
been
helmet
around.
before.
Yeah, I've been around forever, so I don't remember ever seeing them play with the white helmet. But I think this goes back to like the Otto Graham days or something like
Yeah.
that. And but that's when you look at it, it looks like a high school football helmet, kind
Oh,
of thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Looks nice though.
yeah.
Yeah. And there are a
Um,
few injuries that Ian Rappaport announced just a few days ago. Non-football illnesses was with Cleveland. Declared non-football injuries was Baltimore, Cleveland, Green Bay, and Las Vegas. And there were a lot other few minor injuries that was announced just the other day. And that's right before the start of training camp. Training camp is officially kicked off. All teams are going to officially report by Tuesday, the 25th of this coming week. That includes the Seahawks and the Colts. For
yep.
any of the Colts fans watching, Seahawks fans watching.
All right, good stuff on that. And
Yeah.
listen, I'll defer to you for the U.S. Women's World Cup is underway, and the
Yes.
U.S. beat Vietnam 3-0, and I guess what could be called kind of a sloppy game. And
Yeah. So I guess I'll break it down real quick for the 2023 Women's World Cup. All right. So US played Vietnam yesterday. It was an exciting game. 3-0 was the final. Sophia Smith scored 2 goals, one in the 14th minute and once in the second in the 45th minute plus 7 was the time extra added. A lot of reviewed plays. The one goal, as you mentioned, was as we previously mentioned, was supposed to be an offside goal, but it went through. And Lindsey Horn scored the last goal for the U.S. at the 77th minute. They lead in first place right now for the Group E standings in the World Cup. Right now, we're in the group stages. Now all teams have finished playing. The next time the U.S. will play will be on Wednesday of round 2, 9 p.m. on Fox versus the Netherlands. And we had a lot more games this morning, but I didn't really pay attention too much to that this morning.
Yeah,
but those games happen now.
It's early, but it's generating a lot of buzz, and the U.S. women's team is loaded again, and you got
Once
these
again.
young guns, just like you mentioned, Sophia Smith, and
Yeah,
it's combined with the veterans like Alex Morgan and so forth.
absolutely.
So, and Dennis Rodman's daughter is on that team as well.
Yeah. So a lot of good names. The U.S. is rooting for them, and that is the one U.S. team that the whole country will actually root for because we have potential in them compared to other U.S. sport teams.
Yeah.
But
looking for their 3rd straight World Cup victory for the
correct, and they're looking for their 5th star. We have another comment in before we go to oh no, never mind. And one more thing before to finish up with soccer, not FIFA World Cup type, but MLS type. Lionel Messi, he scored his first MLS debut goal. He played his first game with Miami yesterday, and it was a success as he scored in a penalty kick on the 93rd minute. It was +2 added to the time. After 90 minutes, he scored the game-winning goal. Final score 3-2 Miami wins. And the first thing after he does after celebrating, hugs his family, which I thought was a pretty good moment. The crowd was wild and one of the greatest sports moments so far of 2023 that we've seen in a while.
It's great for Major League Soccer to have somebody like this, and like I said, Miami hasn't been a good team.
No,
but now they're a better team with this guy.
Nor has MLS been popular until he came. And I know there's a lot of debates up for it, but it's good to see him back. And guess what? Just wanted to throw that out there. The game was on Apple TV Plus. We couldn't see the game at all. We had to watch the highlights on YouTube. So just want to throw that out there. If you want to watch most MLS games, you got to get Apple TV Plus.
Not doing it.
Nope, not either.
Doing it.
Nope. No, thank you. I'll just watch on YouTube next day. That's fine with me.
That's right. I'll watch it the next day.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So let's move on, Eli. Let's move to our random points of interest. Of course, sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And like I said, I mentioned Coriano Trucking being a loyal sponsor. So is Lynch Toyota since day one, and we appreciate their support.
Oh.
since we started the show. It's great.
Yeah.
So just a couple of little things. When you see a guy, you know, who performs at a level of his sport like Steph Curry does, right? And we know he's got championship rings. He's the all-time three-point shooter. He could just shoot the lights out. The guy is so athletic. He's actually really, really good at golf. And
Yeah.
I did watch this celebrity thing. That's the only time I watched the celebrity golf thing because there's a lot of sports guys, and
Yeah. The
and the
TNT.
course
Yeah.
the course in Lake Tahoe is absolutely beautiful. I mean, the
Absolutely.
scenery and the atmosphere. And look, like he's shooting a three-pointer, he gets a hole in one. That was a great moment in sports. And
Yeah.
he ran the whole length, all 180 yards. That was a pretty cool moment, I must say.
Yeah. And during that broadcast, I believe it was a TNT broadcast that was it on. Ernie Johnson, who does NBA and TNT, he was inducted to the Sports Hall of Fame. Great announcer. Just want to throw that out there. Congratulations to him. I know it was a few months
Yeah,
ago, but
no, I've
he was a
known
good player.
I've been watching Ernie Johnson for 100 years,
Yeah.
And actually, it was a great story. I mean, this guy was a true family man. He had a special needs child that actually
Yeah.
passed away, I think, last year. But he was undying in his support of this child, and it was awesome to see. And yeah, he's pretty good, even though I can't watch this NBA pregame stuff with
Oh, I love
Charles
watching
Barkley.
TNT. It's
I
the
can't
best
watch.
one. That's the best
Can't watch.
show for pregame or postgame out of any other sports market. Just want to throw that out there.
I can't watch it for 2 seconds. Charles
I
Barkley
love
just makes my skin crawl.
All right.
So we're talking about that. So that was a real cool moment for Steph Curry and stuff. And just wanted to bring that up. That's actually a pretty cool event once a year in Tahoe. I wanted to bring somebody else's name up. And this is, I had an opportunity to speak. And I'm talking about Ed Randall, who has a show called Talking Baseball. And I don't know if you know who he is, Eli, but
No, never heard of.
I certainly do. Ed Randall's he's been a baseball aficionado for many, many years. And he has a show called Talking Baseball, has great interviews, very knowledgeable. And I had spoken to him the other day. He's probably listening to our show today. And I wanted to say what a gracious guy he was. And how did I get to talk to Ed Randall, you may ask? And it just so happens that he has a For the Cure nonprofit that's a prostate cancer survivor support group and prevention. And Ed Randall was just gracious enough to talk to me about sports with mono and what direction we can go in. And this guy is a absolute encyclopedia of baseball knowledge, has great interviews with years past. And he actually invited my brother Ken, who's happens to be his birthday today. So happy birthday to my oldest brother Ken. He invited him to, because Ed Randall goes to a lot of these sporting events, and in particular, one of our all-time favorite Yankees was Roy White. He played left field for like 13 years in New York and for the Yankees, and he was a switch hitter. And I met Roy a couple of times, very classy guy. And but he invited my brother to go to some sort of an event in Long Island, which he couldn't make. But I wanted to give a shout out. And Ed, I hope you're listening, because you really just impressed me so much with your, the willingness just to take my call and talk about it and listen to the show. And like I said, you want to look up some baseball stuff and some great interviews. Ed Randall, Talking Baseball. Great guy.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to speak with him. Thank you.
You bet. Great guy. So Eli, we always bring up when there's some memorabilia sales, right? Jerseys and right, Michael Jordan cards or sneakers, and they go for these ridiculous amounts of money. There was an interesting one, and I don't know. I know your father certainly remembers this guy, Pistol Pete Maravich, and he was from L.A., from LSU, excuse me, and one of the all-time great shooters. Averaged 44 points his senior year at LSU, right? And
incredible.
his rookie card. He was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, I believe. Finished his career. Last stop was Boston, but he was kind of feeling, you know, his age at that point. And Pete Maravich died like, I don't know, at least five years ago. But one of the all-time great NBA shooters in college, certainly still the all-time leading points leader in NCAA history. And that was before they had a $552,000, which is amazing. It really was amazing. I just wanted to bring that up because we bring that up all the time about, you know, what people are willing to pay for sports memorabilia, which is insane. But
I mean, absolutely,
you would think that money could be put to better use for some other cause. But you know what? I mean, if you have that money, you have a right to buy whatever you want. If you want to pay $500,000, go for it. Right?
Absolutely.
One other quick random point I wanted to bring up was, and this came out yesterday, and it's one of these like, are we really still talking about this? Is this relevant anymore? I mean, just Kevin Maxson, the conditioning coach for the Jaguars, quote unquote, comes out of the closet. Like, is there still a closet? I mean, are we really talking like this is a big deal? Hey, good for him. You know, I mean, if that's coming out, but it shouldn't even be a topic anymore. I mean, these are
absolutely.
Just what you do on your own time is your business, and you know whether we agree or disagree. But you know, this really shouldn't have been news because there are so many more people that just haven't come out, you know, of quote unquote the closet for fear of retribution, this, that, and the other thing. I say, listen, it's time to move on. It's not a big deal. Leave it alone. And you know, if he's a football coach, what he does after the game, really irrelevant to me. I don't know. I just
absolutely.
That's my feeling on it. But hey, good for him coming out. And like I said, doesn't change my view one way or the other of him. You know, a coach is a coach, and that's you know, just my position. So let's move on to our book recommendation for the week. And I know Eli's going to have a book recommendation for us next week.
Yes, I will.
And looking forward to that. And so sometimes we've done sports. Sometimes, you know, I'm a history buff and I talk about history and read a lot of history books. It was a great book. And I'm going to tell you how it actually ties into sports a little bit with the author. It was Team of Rivals. And this was about Abraham Lincoln, who was, you know, against the three guys, Seward and Stanton and these guys that were trying to get the nomination in 1860, and Lincoln got it. And listen, the rest is history. I absolutely worship everything that Abraham Lincoln did and the way he delivered it. And this is about the cabinet. He not only beat those guys for the nomination, but he took each one of them and put them in his cabinet. And it's just amazing how he won them over. They considered him a non-polished prairie lawyer type guy, and he became one of the most eloquent and most influential leaders in the history of certainly of this country, maybe even the world. But it's a great book, and it was written by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Now, Doris Kearns Goodwin's not only a historian, she's actually also a baseball historian. She's from Brooklyn, and she used to go to, you know, dozens of Brooklyn Dodgers games with her father back in the 50s and 60s before they moved out to LA. And but it's just a really awesome book. And you don't have to be necessarily a history guy to understand, you know, the meaning of it. It's just the personification of Abraham Lincoln and the power that he had from an eloquency perspective. And he took three guys that were his arch rivals, and they became his best friends. And it's just an amazing book. Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Excellent book. And I read it. Right. So before we move on to notable passings, I just, you know, every now and then we put up just a picture of something cool. How about Elvis Presley's pink Cadillac?
Wow, it's
How
pretty good.
cool is that car, right?
Now, was that when you went to Nashville, or was it in like a
Yeah,
New York convention?
that's in Memphis, yep. But
Oh
he
wow.
that's the car he bought for his mother, who ironically didn't even have a driver's license, but he bought it for her
Wow.
anyway. So that's a cool picture. I always thought that was something that I really enjoyed
Yeah.
seeing, right?
Yeah.
So let's move on. Unfortunately,
It was a
our
bad week.
usual closing segment is notable passings, right?
Yeah.
So
It
let's
was.
go down the list, right? And one of
Yeah.
the most, like I said, I'd say prominent ones, and right, not necessarily sports related, but we do
Yeah.
entertainment as well. Tony Bennett, 96 years
Yeah.
old, and his real name was Anthony Benedetto. And
Mhm.
what a legacy, what a career, what a voice. And like I said, I mean, you want to talk about I guess you could call him a crooner. He had such a just a beautiful voice, and that was, he's been battling, I guess, dementia, whatever, for the past couple years. But before his career came to an end, he had this run with Lady Gaga, and it was actually pretty cool. And also, Tony Bennett was an artist, and he had an apartment overlooking Central Park, and he used to paint right in front of that window, one of the most beautiful, you know, um, views of New York City you could possibly get, and
Of course.
that was certainly notable. 96 years old,
Great.
great
Yeah.
career, and that's a big
Absolutely.
loss to the music industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Um, Couple other ones. Joe Campbell. Now, Joe Campbell was the seventh pick in the '77 draft. He was drafted by the New Orleans Saints. But the funny thing is, I mean, he didn't live up to the expectations, right, of a seventh pick in the draft kind of thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the same draft that the Giants drafted Troy Archer. Remember,
Oh
the
wow.
defensive tackle from
Yeah.
Colorado, number one pick, and he tragically died in a car crash going to the stadium one morning. It was horrible, horrible thing.
Oh
But
yeah.
Joe Campbell won a Super Bowl with the 1980 Raiders. Jim Plunkett when they beat Dick Vermeil and the Philadelphia Eagles. So
Yeah.
um, he did get his ring, did play on that team, and he was only 68 years old. So
Hmm.
Joe Campbell. Here's another one, and I think
Yeah.
this is, and I'm going to put this out to our sponsor, Michael Lynch, who's you know well renowned in New England and New England sports. He's a big Patriots, Red Sox fan, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but a columnist named Bill Reynolds, and Bill Reynolds he wrote a column for many years in New England, covered Providence basketball, and he covered the Patriots, and just had a column in the newspaper for many years. And Bill Reynolds uh, passed away, and when you see a guy that's been good at his craft like he was for so many years. But that's notable when it comes to sports with Mono and Mono. He's truly a sports guy, and he was 78 years old. But that's a column a lot of people look forward to in New England, and I'm sure Lynch Toyota knows exactly who I'm talking about when I talk about Bill Reynolds,
Oh yeah.
right? Um, and here's one other one. This is a big one. This is a big one, Eli. Funny Side. Funny Side was
Wow.
23 years old, and Funny Side was he won the Kentucky Derby, he won
Yeah.
the Preakness, and he came in third in the Belmont. So he was a Triple Crown threat back in 2003. Um, it really caught the world by
Surprise.
storm because there hadn't been a Triple Crown winner since I guess either
Wild.
Affirmed or maybe even Seattle Slew. And but we always talk about the Triple Crown and how it's so hard to win because the racetrack at Belmont is a mile and a half, and that's a long way to
Yeah.
go. So that's why you don't see many Triple Crown winners. But Funny Side took the country by storm, right? First gelding to win the Kentucky Derby, and just he was retired out in obviously Lexington, Kentucky, in the Hall of Fame, all that kind of stuff. 23 years old for Funny Side. I know you may not know who he
No,
was. Trust
but
me,
yeah,
he did captivate the audience, right?
I'm sure.
So, I think you mentioned there was somebody
Yeah,
else you
there
wanted
were.
to bring
I
up.
got three more. Some were big, some were not. Former NHL executive vice president Brian O'Neill. He died yesterday at the age of 94 peacefully.
Oh,
Um,
I
yeah,
know who Brian O'Neill was. Yeah, sure,
yeah.
sure.
He died yesterday. 94. The NHL
Oh,
announced yesterday.
good
Uh,
one,
he
good
died
one.
peacefully. He said. The Twitter says. For those in our area, CBS New York meteorologist Lisa Finch. She did the weather reports. She died at the age of 51 unexpectedly. She was a great weather
Yeah.
woman and another notable passing, and she was a great reporter for
Oh
CBS.
no, no question about it.
Yeah,
Actually, that I saw that too, and I was like, wow, because
yeah,
she did the weather on Friday, and she had more than just a. She wasn't just reading weather. She was a journalist. She's got
yeah.
degrees in journalism. She was an absolute,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
yeah, she was more than just a weather girl, and that was a surprise because she did the weather on Friday and passed away on Saturday.
Yeah,
Don't know the cause, but certainly
and
notable from New York. Yes,
oh,
very good.
absolutely. And one last person from ABC creator of The View and producer Bill Getty died on Friday at the age of 68. He took part of producing The View and creating it. So it was another notable
Oh,
passing. We may not have known him too much. I, didn't, but just want to throw out
okay.
there for those of you who do watch The View, that
And
he did pass away.
I'm gonna be tongue in cheek. It's sad that anybody passes away, but
Oh,
now I know who
absolutely.
to blame for the view.
All right.
I don't watch it for 2 seconds,
Okay.
So what do you got going on, Eli? What are you doing with yourself for the summer?
Not much. Just been helping out at the library, working there during the
Okay.
weekday. Not much. Not too busy week for me to come. Oh, I'm actually going to be starting the football team. They announced their schedule the other day, and the coach asked me to help fly the drone for footage for the football practices. So I'm trying
No
to learn how
kidding.
to. Yeah. So now, to be honest, I'm not really know. I don't know how to fly a drone, but as John Fanta said, you always have to say yes to any opportunity. That's how you grow big in the sports world and the media world. So
Excellent.
we're going to be
Excellent.
practicing, and hopefully it turns out well.
All right. Well, I'll stick to the content for our show, and you can fly the drones. How about
All
that?
right, that's fine. Yeah, but I'll be working on the content too. But I will
All right, good.
absolutely.
All right. Excellent.
How about you, Jim?
No, so like I said, I just had a good week and talking to Ed Randall. And again, we are starting to make some headway with sports with Mono and Mono and our listenership, like Jeremy out there listening today and sending us comments, Mike Garvey. And like I said, I can't thank everybody enough. And you brought a good energy. I'm getting a lot of good feedback that, we got the old guy on the right, we got the young kid on the left, and it's a good mix. You bring
Yeah,
some good points to the show, so I'm happy
thank you,
about that. Right?
thank you.
Um, yeah.
And I,
So listen, we'll be back here with you next week again, and please tell a
yeah,
friend. And again, always close the show and open the show with thanks for all the thoughts for Steve, and hope he's back with us at some point. And again, you're doing a great job, Eli, filling in, and I appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And yeah, you gave a few plugs for your show, 12 Horseshoes, a couple times today.
Yeah.
I hope you're talking up sports with Mono and Mono just as
Oh,
much
yes, I
when you're
am.
out and
I'm
about.
throwing it in there any possible moment.
All
And
right.
all right, we're gonna get through.
You're the guy that went to broadcast school, so
Yeah,
I need you to do all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
But
absolutely.
again, everybody, thanks. And of course, please send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com, and we will absolutely answer it, and we'll even discuss it on the following week's show. And again, enjoy the beautiful weather in the
Oh,
Northeast
absolutely.
now. It's been a long time coming, and I hope you have a good week. And
You too.
again, thanks to all our loyal listeners, and we'll be here same time next week.
All right. Have a good one,
You
everyone.
guys have a great week, and thanks, Eli. We'll talk soon.
All right.